Hey everybody, Pastor Mike. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe and being responsible in this time. I know we've been restricted on gathering, and trust me, all of your leadership, your pastors, we all hate that part that we can't get together and fellowship in person. But it doesn't mean that God's church doesn't stop being His church, right? His body doesn't stop being His body, right? That doesn't mean that we quit being the gospel. We quit promoting it. And you guys know my heart. My heart is about evangelizing. It's about promoting Jesus in all situations and all circumstances. And a couple of things that I've come across in the last week really have just kind of reminded me about that. Nothing washes through God's hands. It says in Psalms 24:1, it says, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it." That means that there's nothing that's going to connect with us that doesn't go through God's hands first. That He's it. And so when we look at it from that perspective, and we think about God, who you are and who I am, God, you're really in charge of everything. And so, I see people in a situation that is fearful and challenged and intimidated by what's going on in circumstances around them. And it is to some degree. We can't really see this threat. I can see a bad guy coming at me, right? But I can't see this virus. I can't see this threat. And what the Lord showed me today is I was at the Dollar General this morning. I was picking up something. I think I needed some eye drops. And of all things, you have to go get from Dollar General. And I needed some eye drops. And so today I was at Dollar General, and I noticed a lady was in front of me, and she had she had gloves on. She had 2 sets of gloves on, and she had a mask on. And it was funny, but it's not funny. I was dry coughing just because my throat was dry, and her eyes were as big as dollar bills. Dollar bills doesn't make sense. Silver dollars is what I meant to say. And she was just wanting to get in line with me. And I got tickled, but then God kind of thumped me in the head when I got outside, and as He frequently needs to do. I don't know about you, but He does me. And He said there was an opportunity to share about me. 1 Peter 3:15 says, "Always be prepared to give a reason for the hope that we have if everyone asks." And I could have acted different in that situation. I could have reached out and just, struck up conversation. I could have done those things, but I didn't. I kind of got in that mindset of moving my own direction, my own way, and it's really not what we're supposed to do. Even in these times right now, we're still supposed to be evangelistic. Matthew 28 doesn't stop. We still move forward, don't we? I'm reminded that, and these are scriptures that just ground me in my faith. And it's 2 Corinthians 5:7. It says, "We live by faith and not by sight." That means I don't have to see where my feet are planted. I know that they're planted on Christ because He's guiding me through. He's like, "Come on this way," and I'm walking, and He's, "Come on this way, come on this way." He's leading me through, right? It's not a challenge. It's not a challenge. I shouldn't be fearful. I shouldn't be challenged. I should be hopeful. And what I've discovered today in my quiet time going through was that there's an unprecedented time that we're in, yes, but it's also been never more evident of who needs the gospel than right now. It's just never more evident. We're not supposed to be fearful. We're not supposed to be intimidated. We're not supposed to be challenged, not from the fear. We're supposed to be challenged by God. We're supposed to have a reverent fear of God, right? But we're not supposed to be challenged by circumstance and situation. That's not for a believer. That's not for us. When I was in seminary, I want to share with you 2 quick books to read. If you can get them this week, they're really great to do. When I was in seminary, I had a professor pour into me. One was called Back to Jerusalem. And what it is in 1920s, the Christian church, the underground church movement in China, had a passion for sharing the gospel, and they wanted to get the gospel to Jerusalem. And so what they decided to do was put together a movement, and it's called Back to Jerusalem Movement. And it's sharing the gospel with the Buddhist, the Hindu, and the Muslims between China and Jerusalem. And their vision was to get 100,000 missionaries to carry out that church movement. And it is it's a fantastic book, and please read it. It's a quick read. It took me all of 2 days, and I'm not a big reader. I'm really not, but my heart was so intrigued and captivated by their stories. And the second one is called The Heavenly Man, and it's about a Christian pastor. His name's Brother Yun, Y-U-N. And he's born in 1958, and his movement for the church, underground church movement, was in China from between the 80s and 90s. And it talks about the Heavenly Man talks about his story of spreading the gospel, the challenges, the imprisonment, the cruelty that he experienced, all for the sake of the gospel. All for the sake of the gospel. And now he speaks globally about his trials, and he's still around this day. It's a tremendous read, and these books inspired my heart. And so as today I look out and we're challenged with getting out and being amongst each other, but the gospel doesn't start spreading, does it? It doesn't stop going forward, does it? I mean, God knew everything that was happening, right? So we can take solace in that. We can take comfort in that. God, you have already written all of this that we're going to experience. So the question is, how do I share it? How do you share the gospel in this time? Well, when we're out, we see, right? It's by faith that we walk and not by sight, right? It says in 2 Corinthians 5:7. So I'm going to see opportunities. Now the question is do I engage them, or do I keep, like I did this morning, and do the wrong thing and just kept moving forward on my own? But hopefully you'll not follow my bad example, but you'll follow your example as God would have you to lead. So I got a couple things that I want us to do. How can you serve? Well, there's a couple things going on how to serve. One is called Love Inc. It's at 205-614-2849. And what it is it's all the shelters, the food banks that use the labor of the seniors that would come and volunteer. Well, they can't come and volunteer anymore. And so what they would do is they're going to program those shelters that are on their website, and they're going to fill them with you. You're going to volunteer. You're going to go in place of them. You're going to stand now and let them rest. Food for Students is going to be at Brookwood Elementary starting Monday, this coming Monday, at 10:15. Show up on site with your church t-shirt so they know that you're not in need of getting food, but you want to volunteer. And ask for the site coordinator. Meals on Wheels, 205-592-0413. There's a volunteer form on their website, and they're looking for volunteers to take them out to the elderly, to take them out those in need. Senior centers, your neighbor, by chance, let me get to senior centers in a minute, but your neighbor, maybe you have an elderly neighbor you can check on. You can run a grocery store errand from them. You can do the pharmacy from them. You can, or for them rather. You can, there's a way to plug in your neighbor, make a routine to check on them. I know I'm doing that with my neighbor Mike. But maybe there's a senior center near you that you can go and make cards for them and stick them to the outside of the window and tape them up. Or you can take some balloons and stick them to the outside of the window that you can show some encouragement. You can go by. Maybe you can sing and you want to take your family and go by and sing to them through the windows and have that engagement. They can't see visitors. So maybe that's a way for you to plug in. You get creative with your families and how you can go and affect change positively in this time for our seniors that can't have visitors come by. So know that we love you. Know that I love you. I'm praying for you. I can't wait to see you, hug you, hold you. My arms are hungry to grab my church family. And if there's anything we can do, let me know. But know that you're loved. You're being prayed over by your leadership and by me.